Hello everyone and welcome back to One Man Stream. Today's episode is going to be a follow-up to an episode that we actually started back in episode 117, and it was called Graphic Build Part 1. And in that episode I showed you how to create several new graphics. This was one of the graphics that we created right here, along with a tell of the tape graphic. And when we completed that tutorial, I said this was the first part in a 3-part series, but I've decided to go ahead and just tone this thing down to 2 parts. And the reason why is the next episode I told you I was going to do was going to be centered around the spreadsheet. And what I've decided to do is, instead of building this spreadsheet from scratch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this Excel spreadsheet is set up. But instead of building it from scratch, I'm just going to go ahead and make it available for you to download. Now, I am going to show you what you need to know how to do in order to make a spreadsheet like this. So I'm going to show you how to create lists with data validation, and also how to use vlookup to search for information you want, so that when we do something like this, you see how the other information in here changed. And that happens because we are using vlookup in the background. Now, we'll touch on vlookup in just a minute. But to start off with, all we did is we created 4 different sheets. And the first sheet is entitled Main, and this is the main layout, and this is what I'm getting the majority of the information from to populate my graphics. Then I have another one over here that says Fighters. And this is something I've just started doing, and I don't have a whole lot of information in here yet. What this is going to be is this is going to be all the fighters as I continue to go along and do the different MMA and kickboxing events and boxing events. I'm going to continue to add more and more athletes into this, and when I do, once I have it, I will always have it. So it'll make it real easy to set up the fight card from each individual promotion to the next promotion. But you can see right here at the top, we have name, date of birth, we have today's date, and the reason we have today's date is that's going to help us formulate what the fighter's age is. Then we have height, and then we have gym, then we have record, and then we have weight. And this is what we're pulling into our main graphic right here. This is where this information is coming in from. If I slide this over further, you can see some other information that we have. And not only do we have the fighter's name and the fighter's gym and the fighter's record, we also have information here for the fight itself. How many rounds the fight is, what particular round we're in within the fight, and then we also have the weight class. And all this information is brought into different graphics that we created in the first episode. So that's our main graphic, that's fighters. The next one is sponsors. And the reason that I have a sponsors tab on the spreadsheet set is because with some of the promotions I do, each particular bout is sponsored by a different company. So I want to have that information there as well, so it'll make it easier to pull that information into my graphics. So I have a sponsors tab. And then the next one is called vMix data, and this is the information that I use to create the drop-down lists. So I have one here for rounds, and I have a 3-round fight, 4-round fight, 5, 6. You can see all the different combinations that I have, and then we can bring that in as a list widget. And I click on round 1 of X, you can see there's a drop-down menu, and I can choose from all these different elements that we've created within that vMix data list. So it makes it very easy to change between whether it's a 3-round fight or a 4-round fight, and then it makes it very simple to change between rounds. Now, I also have some automation built into vMix UTC that's going to allow us to do that a little bit simpler. So those are the 4 sheets. And all you really have to know how to do is create some lists, and you can see all these colored spaces right here, all these colored cells. These are actually drop-down lists. This is a drop-down list, the blue one is a drop-down list, and this gray one right here is a drop-down list, as well as the sponsor. I do believe that's a drop-down. Yes, that's a drop-down list as well. Well, how do you make a drop-down list? Well, that's actually very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to the bottom here just to give me an open space to work with. And I have this set up for 30 fights. I've never had 30 fights in a promotion, but I have it set up for 30 fights just in case. So say I wanted to make a drop-down list right here of fighters. Well, how would you do that? Very simple. You click the cell where you want that information to go. You do not click equal, because if you click equal, then Excel thinks you're going to be creating a formula and it's going to do something entirely different. So all you do is click in there, highlight that cell, and then you go to data, and then you come over to here where it says data validation. You click on data validation, and then what you're looking for is right here. You're going to make a list. Where is the information going to be coming from for this list? Well, that goes right here. So you click in right there, and then you go to where that information is going to be. Well, for the fighters, mine is going to be on the fighters page. So I'm going to click right here. I'm going to highlight the first one, and you can see where it comes in: fighters, exclamation point, A2, which is this first one right here. And I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm just going to go to right here, Cody Sheave, and I'm going to click on that. And you can see where it brings in this range. It brings in A2 to A31. So we have A2, which is the beginning of our range, and we have A31, which is the end of our range, and we click OK. So now we have us a drop-down list right here, and it's going to, you can select any one within this list. The next thing that we need to know how to do is vlookup. And the reason for vlookup is it allows us to go to these different pages and pull certain pieces of information. Now the page that it's going to go to, again, is this fighters page, and it's going to pull out a huge range because I have it set up to go all the way to 2000. So it's going to go from A2000 over here to, I think I set it up to go to something like I2000, but we'll see in just a minute when we actually are clicking on some buttons. So let's go back to main. Let's take it back to the top. And right here, I'm clicking on Aaron, and it brings in Aaron and his information. But say I wanted to change it to someone else. Say I wanted to change it to this person right here. I click this, and you can see where the information changes. Well, how does that work? Well, that works through vlookup. Now, with vlookup, you need to have 4 different pieces of information. You need to have your search term. In this case, our search term is Aaron. Then you need to have your range, and our range for this one is on the fighters page. Then you need to point to that data range and tell Excel what column you're looking for. And then the last thing is true or false based on whether you want to have an exact match or not. So let's look right here and see what vlookup is for this. So if I click right here, you'll see the vlookup function comes up, and it brings in our 4 arguments. The first one is B2, and this is B2. So this is our search term. We're going out and we're looking for Aaron. And where are we looking for it at? Well, we're looking for it on the fighters page. We're starting at A2 and we're going to J1000. So we actually are searching through 1,000 different rows of fighters to find the fighter we want. Once we find that fighter, what is the associated information that we're looking for? And that associated information is going to be in column 6. And then we made it true for an exact match. So let's keep that in mind when we go to fighters. We're going to look for A2 through J1000, and we're looking in row 6, and it should be bringing us the fighter gem. So let's come over here to fighters. A2 is right here. This is where we're starting, and we're going to J1000, so it's going to be this next column over, and it's going to be all the way down here to row 1000. Then we're looking in column 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Column 6 is indeed going to bring us back the gem information. The first column is going to be where our search term is, and that is going to be column 1. Then we're going to go to the right of our search term. So this is column 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it does bring us to the column of information that has the gem. So let's go back here. So again, we had B2, which was our search term right here. We had the fighters page, and then we had this big range of information for the fighters. We went to column 6, which is where we found the gym information, and then we typed in true for an exact match. Let's go look at the next one. What did we do here? Well, we did the exact same thing. We're using the same search term. We're using the same page of fighters and the same range, A2 through J1000. We're going over one column to column 7, and again, we're getting us an exact match. So let's go back over to fighters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and indeed 7 is going to bring us back the record of the fighter. We went through that kind of quickly, but I'll give you a couple more examples. Let's go over here and look at blue fighter, and then we're going to click in and look at this one. Again, this is our search term right here, which is E2. So our search term is going to be Cameron Young. We're going to go to the fighters page and look through this whole long range. We're going to go to column 6, and we're going to find an exact match for our data query. So let's go ahead and follow that through. So we're going to go to fighters. We're going to look for Cameron Young, and this is set up alphabetically by first name. So we're going to look for Cameron Young, which is right here, and then we're going to go over to column 6. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it should bring us back area 502. Let's go back to the main one and take a look. Yep, there it is right there, area 502. You can see on this very first row, I carried it over so when we make one selection, everything below it is selected the same. Well, I didn't follow it all the way out because I wanted to show you how I did that, and it's probably the simplest thing that you can do. So when we do our drop-down list, if we change this to someone different, you can see where the gym changes to Louisville Combat Academy and where his record changes to 10-1. Well, you see that all this information changes when I do this selection from the drop-down menu, but it's not doing it here. Well, let me show you. And like I said, this is the easiest thing that you can do in Excel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this cell, I'm going to click equal, and then I'm going to click this cell, and then click enter. And then you can see, boom, it brings that right in. Again, equal, click on the cell, enter, equal, click on the cell, enter. Okay, so that didn't take us any time at all, but you'll be able to see now that when we come back here and we change this back to Aaron, all that information changes. And we just have to follow that through for all the rest of this. But all you're doing is you're hitting equal, you're going back to the cell that you want it to match that information and clicking on it or highlighting it, and then you're hitting the equal sign. That's all you have to do. Now over here we also have drop-down menus for these, and we did these the exact same way. Now if you want a more in-depth discussion on how to do data validation and how to do vlookup, I've done several tutorials on those, and those tutorials will now be popping up in the bottom left-hand corner. The information will also be at the top right up here. And if you're interested in more of a deep dive on how to do data validation and vlookup, I would suggest you watch those tutorials. But I'm giving you the gist of how you do it right here. Now I'm going to give you a couple more examples, and then we're going to move on to probably a little bit more fun topic, and that is back over into vMix UTC and how we control some things. So say right here we wanted to make us another drop-down list that had right here that has the rounds in it. So what would you do? Would we hit an equal sign? No. If we hit an equal sign, then Excel thinks that we're going to do some type of a formula. So all we do is highlight it. Then I'm going to go over to here to where it says on the data field tab to data validation. We're going to click on data validation. We're going to click on list. And then we're going to select that information, what's the source of that information. And the source of that information is on our vMix data. So we're going to click on this first one. You can see it brings in B2, which is indeed what this cell is, B2. And then I'm going to click on the shift key, and I'm going to go to right here. And you can see our range is going to go to B31, B31, and we're going to click OK. Now, look at that. we have a drop-down menu that has all those different rounds in it. We're going to do one more, and the one more we're going to do is for the bout type. So we're going to click right here. Again, we're going to go to data validation. We're going to do a list, and now we're going to go find our source. And these are all the different types of bouts that we have. So I'm going to select this one, C2, and we're just going to take it down to right here, C36, and I'm going to click OK. Now from this list, I have all these different bout types. There's a whole lot of different ways that you could use this, or other uses you could do this for, but you can see how this could be a very powerful tool when trying to get information you want out of Excel. So that's the first part of this tutorial. The second part of this tutorial is going to be centered around this right here. Now you can see right here, this is my information that's coming from the spreadsheet. Now the spreadsheet, I brought that in, and I'm going to show you right here. I brought that in from right here. Let's go ahead and click on the hamburger menu. And now we're going to click on DataSource. This is the same spreadsheet that you saw that we brought into vMix as a data source. You can see right here we have it activated as an Excel spreadsheet. And then all you have to do is you have to tell it two things. You have to tell it the type of data source, and this is an Excel spreadsheet, so you put it in here just like this, Excel \CSV, and then all you have to do is hit your browser button and go to where your file is. I always check this right here where it says use first row as column names, and when I do that, it brings in this information right here, and this is going to be really handy when you go to mapping your graphics. This is our layout. This is kind of our control panel, and it's showing fight one. You can see fight one right here. You can see the two people that are involved in this contest. You can see it's going to be a 3-round fight, and we're currently in round 1 of 3. It's a 135-pound contest, and this right here is the round timer. So when we start everything into motion, I'm going to go ahead and click Start Round. You can see where the automation comes in, and we actually just completed a tutorial on how to bring this type of automation into your production. And you can see that our round timer is counting down. So we get to the end of the round. I'm just going to go ahead and clear it out. And we want to go to round 2. Well, when we want to go to round 2, we just click this button right here that says Next Round. And you can see what happens. It takes this to round 2 of 3. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to right click on this. Okay, so all I did was toggle the caption there, and now I'm going to click on the cog, and you can see that this is actually a text filled widget. Well, where is this information for Cameron Young coming from? It's actually coming from right here, which is our lower third, and it's coming from the blue fighter. So this information right here is simply being populated from this graphic right here. So the same thing for this one. I'll go ahead and toggle this one back off, but on this one right here, this will be coming from the same graphic, but it's coming from right here. Now, this portion right here where it's saying 2 of 3, toggle caption, and I'm going to click on the cog, this is coming from where it says round text. And this round text is right here. Actually, I lied to you. It's not actually, it's not coming from this graphic right here. It's coming from this graphic right here. And I'll go ahead and bring this in for you, and I'm going to click on Title Editor. And now you can see where it's bringing in, where it says round text right here, you can see round text. And then on those other ones, you could see where it said blue fighter, which was right here, and then red fighter, which is right here. So the idea was correct, but I was showing you the wrong graphic. It's actually coming from this smaller lower left one. You can see there's 2 commands. You can see data source select row, and then you can see the second command, which is sync state. If we didn't put this sync state in here, it would execute the link. It would go to where we want it to go to in our spreadsheet, but it wouldn't reflect it up here in our readout. That's why we have to use this sync state. So you can see we have this one set for row 0. Let's go ahead and take this one back, and let's go to the next one and click on the cog. This is fight 2. Now let's take a look. Okay, we have the same two commands, DataSource select row, row 11, and then we have the sync state. Well, let's look at our spreadsheet. And if you remember, we had row 0 and row 11. Well, if you remember, this numerical number right here is 1, but in vMix it sees this as 0. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you can see where 11 starts fight 2, right here. And you can see where this would actually be row 0 in vMix terms, and you can see where that starts right here. So all we're doing is we're selecting a row in our data source, and by doing that, it's changing the information in our control panel. So let's go ahead and get rid of that and take a look at this one more time. You can see again, data source select row, we're selecting 11. And then we're syncing the state after the fact, and that's what's bringing the information in right here. So what we're doing for each one of these is we're just taking it to a specific part within that spreadsheet, and then we're executing that sync state. Now the only other thing that I need to show you is right here, and that's this next round. And you'll watch when I click this next round, this will change from 1 of 5 to 2 of 5. And now if I click it again, it's going to change to 3 of 5. And you can also see it changing down here in the graphic as well. I'll click it one more time, and you can see where it goes to 4 of 5. How does that work? Well, let's take a look at it. The command that we're using is data source next row, and then we're pointing it to that sheet, the Excel spreadsheet, and then it's the main sheet. Remember, we had 4 sheets. And the information for the layout was on the main sheet, so it's telling it to go to the next row of the main sheet, and that's how we're moving ahead one round at a time. So I'll show you that again. And this one right here, this previous round, all this is data source previous row. So let's go ahead and we'll toggle that off. And say we made a mistake, we had one of those little finger twitches and we went 2 rounds, we need to go back one. Well, we can do that right here with this previous round, and this says data source previous row, so that's the command, data source previous row. So if we click this, you can see where it goes back to round 3 of 5. I'm also going to address one more thing. I had a question on my YouTube site. Somebody wanted to know how I got this information right here. Well, it's a lot simpler than what you'd think. If you click on this cog, all this is the region widget, and then under info, I just type this information in, and it's a way that I can keep track of the fighters. So that's going to wrap up our tutorial series that we were doing on our rehab for our boxing and MMA vMix UTC layout. If you like what we're doing here at One Man Stream, please give us a thumbs up and a like. Please make sure you do subscribe so that you'll be alerted as soon as new videos are posted. And as always, thank you so much.